the other speakers get ready to come, I want to let you know that although we have these few speakers here today, that we have one, and that's the search and seek for justice, not just for the Bradley Blackshire family, but for all people of color, all white folks and all poor folks that have been wrongfully, unjustifiably murdered by police officers. What do we want? Justice! Now! Justice! Now! Justice! Now! Thank God. I mean, I got it all back. You left them back. I got it all back. Come on, I got it all back. Everybody got it all, baby. Come on. Everybody got it all back. All over the world. Yeah. You got to declare. You got to decree. I got it all back. Johnny.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome into the show. It's the Monday edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. How y'all doing? Everybody's getting on in here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, obviously. We certainly got to talk about the Bradley Blackshire lack of prosecution. We're certainly going to talk about Sarah Sanders being outed as an outright liar and why she has no credibility and she should not have that job. I'm also going to give you some tips on how we can solve this problem. That is police brutality. If you listen to this show often, you probably have already heard my suggestions, but for whatever reasons, you aren't paying attention. So, repetition is good. So we're going to repeat it again because this problem can be solved. It just takes a little guts. It takes a little sacrifice. And we're going to talk about that today as well because right now you're marching and crying and you're praying and you're dying. We repeat this every month. It just depends on what part of the country we're in. So we're going to talk about that today. All right. Hope you had a great weekend. I know many people were celebrating Easter. You didn't show up at church with that pink suit on, did you? I hope you didn't. Because they weren't laughing with you. They were laughing at you. Okay? And same to the lady who had the Dr. Seuss Cat in the hat on. It was red and white. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I had a nice Easter dinner yesterday. I smoked 6 Cornish game hens. Each one of them were smoked differently. At least they were all brined in a brine that I make. But then I used honey Dijon mustard for one. Made my own honey Dijon mustard. Then I had rib juice on 2 others. The honey Dijon mustard was on 2. And then I had orange pepper. Like lemon pepper, but it was orange pepper. It was on the other 2. All right. So that's what I had. Then I had some rice pilaf, a little dressing, some smoked cabbage. You all have ever eaten smoked cabbage, you should try it. Okay, y'all know I'm a grill man. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but before we get started, you all know that we have to do Black Facts. And I was at an event on Friday evening, and let me tell you why Black Facts are so important. I was at an event on Friday evening about black males, and I get a little put off by going in these events, and there aren't many young people there. We talk about young people, but we don't ever have them at our events. We talk around them and at them, but we don't invite their conversation, nor do we invite their solutions. But there were a few young men there, and it was Malcolm Jenkins. And if you all have listened to the show, you all know that I am not a fan of Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm Jenkins plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was he was the main person who basically hijacked Colin Kaepernick's movement and went and negotiated with the NFL owners unbeknownst to Colin Kaepernick, didn't invite him, didn't have any of his input, and the owners capitulated and gave them money for causes, you know. But Colin Kaepernick went on and still today does not have a job. So he was one of the people who were there, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't bother to shake his hand, nor did I want to. I consider Malcolm Jenkins a sellout, to be totally honest. That's just how I feel about it. But to make a long story short, there were some young men, I think they were from Henderson State, and one of the young men got up and made the comment that up until recently, he had no idea that Tulsa ever happened. You all know Black Wall Street. He had no idea that there was ever a Black Wall Street. This was a young brother in college, a freshman in college. He said he just recently learned about Black Wall Street and what happened at Tulsa. I said, did you know about? And then after the event, I had to make my way to this young man. Because number one, and I tell people all the time, that in this day and time, there is no reason why you should not know your Black history. Okay? See, when we were growing up, we had to trudge to the library. We had to wait till Black History Week. We didn't have cell phones and the internet where we can go out and do our research for ourselves. So I'm a little put off when I hear a young brother say, I didn't know. It's not that you didn't know, it's just that you didn't want to know because you didn't take time out to go and read your history. But I impressed upon the young man that, hey, now that you know, take that device that you use every day to call your girlfriend to research your history. I asked him to read about John Carter and how he was murdered right there on 9th and Broadway. And I asked him to read about, you know, we talk a lot about Tulsa, but Tulsa was not the only Black Wall Street in this country. They were all throughout the country. If you go back and you look at some of these riots, or at least these massacres that took place, it was because those business districts that were ran by Black people were making money, and the white people did not want that. I also impressed upon him to read about Elaine, Arkansas, because he said, one of the things that he said was Tulsa was the worst race riot in U.S. history. No, it wasn't. 247 men, women, and children lost their lives in Elaine, Arkansas. That was by far the worst. So I impressed upon him to go out and do research on Elaine as well. Now I say all of that to say this is why I do Black Facts every day. I know some of you all get tired of it. I hope you don't. I hope some of you all who don't know are learning. But this is why I do Black Facts every day. And when we get back, we're going to do another one. Back in a moment. How's it going?
Good, man. Real good.
Good. All right, so let's jump into this Black Fact, okay? And coming up here in a moment, we're going to talk to Rizelle Aaron. Of course, you all know about the Bradley Blackshire lack of prosecution. We'll get into that here in a moment. But today, a century later, and by the way, I do some of these Black Facts over and over again. I try to expound and expand, but sometimes you just need to know. Because I'm a little annoyed today. In the state of Alabama today, and this is a Black Fact, in the state of Alabama today, they are supporting or celebrating Confederate Memorial Crap Day. Okay? Now, let me tell you this. If you are supporting or celebrating Confederate Day, that means you are a traitor. You are a traitor to America. Don't run around here talking about, I'm patriotic and this, that, and the other, and you're running around flying the stars and bars. Those two things, those two dogs don't hunt. After Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston in September, recovery and cleanup workers discovered that vandals had smeared red paint over a historical marker at one of at one-time location of Camp Logan, recently rededicated to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Houston riot of 1917. The paint covered the segment of the inscription that explained that the history of the 3rd Battalion of the 21st United States Infantry, a predominantly black unit assigned to guard the camp during its construction shortly after the United States entered World War I. Beneath the paint, the words read, "The Black Soldiers, August 23rd, 1917. Armed revolt in response to Houston's Jim Crow laws and police harassment resulted in the camp's most publicized incident, the Houston Mutiny and Riot of 1917. The Houston riot grew out of the confrontation between soldiers and the Houston City Police, at the end of which 16 white people were dead, including 5 policemen, with 4 soldiers also killed. It was the only riot in U.S. history in which more white people died than black people. At the resulting 3 court-martials, the first of which was the largest in U.S. military history, a total of 118 enlisted black soldiers were indicted, with 110 found guilty. 19 black men were executed by hanging, and 53 received life sentences. For a century, families of the executed soldiers have lived with the memories and loss. Relatives alive today grew up hearing their families and talk about the soldiers' fate, which served as the catalyst to learn more and to work for justice to make amends. My family was upset when I started looking into this, admits Jason Holt, a relative of Private Hawkins, one of the soldiers hanged. Holt has a 100-year-old letter written by Private Hawkins to his mother and the night before his execution, telling her not to be upset with him taking his seat in heaven and his innocence. They sent those soldiers into the most hostile environment imaginable. There was Jim Crow law, racist cops, racist civilians, laws against them being treated fairly in streetcars, while the workers building Logan Camp hated the soldiers' presence. The riot was a problem created by the community policing in the hostile environment. It's up to people now to decide whether there are lessons relevant to the present. So if you all have never heard that story, 140 men who went and fought in World War I, who came back to America and were treated like chattel, decided to take their future into their own hands, and consequently, some of them were hung, others were sentenced to life in prison. This is how they treat black people in America, especially the patriotic ones. And that's our black fact for today. And don't forget, I have a 6-month advertising package right now. If you want to check it out, you got to call me up at 615-554-0568. I promise you that this package will blow you out of the water. You just got to call me and say, "Hey, Dave, tell me about that 6-month advertising package." You're going to like it. So if you've got a small business, if you've got an event you know that's coming up down the road, you need to be advertising right now on joynetradio.com. Hey, Chantel, how you doing, man? Lady, how you doing? I'll be glad when you're ready to come on the show. You got an open invitation whenever you're ready, because we need to tell your story as well about it's part of the corruption that's going on in this state that needs to be addressed. All right, so coming to the mic right now, of course, as many of you all know, and unfortunately, some things you know you're going to be right on, but you don't want to be right on. And we talked about this on the show. When the murder, because that's the only way I can coin it, You all have seen the video. We understand what the rules and the regulations are as it relates to police engagement. This was an out-and-out lynching of Bradley Blackshire. But unfortunately, as we look across this country, we know, or we felt like, that nothing was going to be done. And I'm going to bring Rizal Aaron to the mic here in just a moment. But I want to read something to you. And herein lies the problem, okay? And this is a story of a young man. You all may have seen this video on Facebook where the police they attacked, and they basically, one cop was bouncing the head of a teen on the ground. If you saw the aftermath of the pictures of him sitting on the side bleeding, it was horrific. But what made me reference this is because of what the officer said in their arrest report. And this is what's dangerous, and this is what's killing our people. And basically what he said, that he jumped on this teen while he was on his back. The teen was sprawled out on the ground, and while the cop was bouncing his head on concrete, the cop in his report basically said he was in fear of his life. Now wait a minute, get this now. The cop there are two cops. One is sitting on his back, the young man's back. The other one is holding his arm, and while they're doing that, they're bouncing the kid's head on concrete like it's a basketball. But the cop that was sitting on his back said, "Oh, I did that because I was in fear of my life." Therein lies our problem, folks. Okay? The problem is because anybody can claim, or any of these cops can claim they were in fear of their lives, and of course, this is how they're getting off. But it doesn't apply to Muhammad Noor in Minnesota. We'll get into that here in just a moment. Muhammad Noor happened to be a black cop who killed a white woman who said he was in fear of his life. But Muhammad Noor is not getting the treatment the way white cops get. Fascinating. So on Friday, and they did this on purpose, anytime there's a big story or something that's going to affect the community, and they release it on Friday, they're trying to defray the frustration. Because they know people are going to be Friday, Saturday. They're hoping by Monday morning some of the animosity would have died down. But I promise you, Little Rock, it has not. It's not going anywhere. What happened to Bradley Blackshire was a public lynching. We all saw it. We all understand why it was done. We all understand that because you have white cops who come into Little Rock to hunt, who have no vested interest in the people of Little Rock, that they do what they want. So we are going to bring Rizal Aaron to the mic. This morning at 10 a.m., they had an event at the Capitol steps. Rizal, welcome to the mic, by the way.
Hey, what's happening, Big Dave?
Wait a minute. This guy ain't nothing.
Don't be no troublemaker,
This
man.
guy ain't
Don't be
nothing.
no troublemaker.
He caused so much trouble at the Capitol yesterday that they banned him from. So I'm gonna have to ban him from the doggone station.
Oh, Rizal, no.
Yeah. So good. Get on here and apologize to the people for causing all this trouble.
I know he didn't
You
just
gonna make
ask
him
me to
apologize?
apologize to the folks over here, man. Hey, y'all don't pay no attention to him. He think because he owns this place, he can say what he want to, but he can't. Don't listen to that man.
So,
Anyway.
Rizal, how you doing, man? I know it's been a tough. I mean,
up, Dad?
what was your reaction on Friday when you got the news?
I wasn't surprised. I was angry. I was mad.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about it in our little private meetings that they wouldn't prosecute him, and so we weren't surprised. And I mean, it was still, it still hurt. It didn't change the hurt once he did announce it. But it's anger and disappointment in a system that continues to just kill us and not even care that we're dead, man.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating part of the fact that this continually happens, and it's almost like it's routine. Oh, just another N-word dead.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel when this occurs now.
And what Prosecutor Jegley don't understand, man, is that when he does things like this, that it gives other police officers that are just like Starks, it empowers them. It gives them that mindset that if I happen to mess up, nothing's going to happen. And so because of that, they become more trigger happy than what they already are because they know they're going to be protected. So Larry Jegley just put bullseyes on the backs of all black folks and poor folks too, just by saying if a cop kill you just because he violated police policy, don't mean we're going to hold him accountable in the criminal justice system. It's the wrong thing to do. And it's unfortunate, but I think that there's a great possibility that more black folks might be hurt because police do feel that they are empowered now.
Well, I mean, if you just using that statement, if you look across the country, I would agree with you that there are more who think that they are empowered. I mean, that's why I brought up the subject, the case of Muhammad Noor.
Yeah.
Is because I'm pretty sure Muhammad Noor felt like that when he shot Justine Damon.
Thought he was good, didn't he?
He thought, hey, he used the catchphrase,
yes,
I was in fear of my life.
Safety. Yes, sir.
He used that catchphrase.
That brother thought he was good, man, but them white folks out there showed him that same protection that's afforded to white police officers is not usually afforded to black police officers, especially when a black cop kill a white person. You can forget it. You through. And so you were a lot of black police officers, even in Little Rock, trying to stand up for Charles Starks, members of the Little Rock FOP, and they failed to even realize that just because you think you one of them don't mean you one of them. Because when push comes to shove, if you the one on the chopping block, your head getting chopped off, brother. And so you loving the wrong folks and you standing on the wrong side of the line. Man, we went to the Capitol today to rally. And when we went to rally today, first of all, they didn't want to give us the rally steps to rally on. They didn't want to give it to me. And then Representative Vivian Flowers did an application to request it. An African-American female member of the House of Representatives in Arkansas. And they told her no, too. So
on what grounds?
They told her, the representative, that she couldn't use the steps that we built. And so they told her, they said it was some kind of 30-day requirement to submit an application. And so when I read the application, I sent some word to Vivian. I said, Vivian, at the top of that application, it don't say require. It says they prefer a 30-day application, not that they require. And so when she took that back to them on their own application, then they said, and this is what the man said to Vivian. She talked to me about it. The man that runs the place, the decision, told Vivian, well, ain't you seen that video that Roselle Aaron put out on his show? And so it wasn't about a 30-day rule. Some of them folk just scared for no reason. They didn't want me there. And let me tell you something.
But they'll let the Klan march.
Saturday, the Sons of the Confederacy held a rally on them same steps. Last month, the Highwaymen, racist organization, and the Network, racist organization, held rallies on those same steps that they told us a House of Representative member, you can't get them steps. And them folks was out there with permission from the Secretary of State's office. And so when we got there, I had already made a phone call, a recorded phone call, and called the office of the person that was supposed to be approving stuff. And I got his receptionist or whoever she was. And first she tried to blow me off saying his calendar is full, he can't see nobody. And I said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to just stop by in person this morning. I'm going to sit there and wait. And when he's got like 2 minutes, then I'll talk to him. And she said, well, no, she said he in his position, he moves around. He's kind of in and out, so you might not catch him in here. I was like, man, that's okay. I've got time. I'm coming there anyway. I'll stop by. I said, but you can also let them know that if they don't let us use the Capitol steps for a rally, then all of us good Arkansans are going to take a tour of the inside of the state capitol. A tour. And so when I got there, I went up to the doors. There were about 10 state capitol police officers at the doors, and all the doors were locked. They said the Capitol was shut down today.
Oh, really?
They literally locked the doors of the state capitol, that when Senator Elliott got there, She herself had to knock on the door. The senator had to knock on the door, and they still cracked the door open and talked to her through the door. A senator.
Wow.
That's how bad it was this morning. And finally, when they didn't want us in the building, they didn't want us outside the building, and finally I got a message. We were starting the rally anyway on the steps, and Kimberly Blackshire, Bradley's mother, came and whispered in my ear. She said they've already told the police to stand down so we can have our rally, because they didn't want us inside and they didn't want us outside, and if they had a preference, they prefer we be outside.
Right. Right.
But that was our experience just this morning on the steps that we built. A senator and a House of Representative couldn't even get treated right at the Arkansas State Capitol.
Well, again, it's amazing to me, and you referenced the fact that we've had Confederates, we've had racists, we've had KKK, we've had the terrorist organization known as the KKK.
Yeah.
I always like to use that with them now.
Yeah.
Highwaymen, all of those white supremacists, and they didn't have to jump through the hoops that you had to jump through just to hold a rally about justice.
The only reason they decided, in my mind, to not interfere with us was because they were concerned because we were going to have, I told them we were going to have a rally one way or another. And so that's the only way in my mind that they conceded or backed down, because they didn't want on national television, they police being seen attacking folks for trying to speak on the steps of the Capitol. This wasn't about allowing us to exercise our rights. This was about them not wanting to face any negative media attention.
Right.
And that's what it was really about. They had snipers. The Victory Building across the street from the Capitol, that's not even like a state deal over there. But they put that building on lockdown. The Victory Building. They had snipers on the roofs of the building.
I saw it.
Including on top of the state capitol in camouflage. They had camouflage snipers for people that were out there praying and talking. Why do you bring snipers and guns and their little backup, what do you call them, SWAT team, whatever them folks was in advance? Why do you bring all that for people that are out there to pray and to talk, except for the fact that they're black folks instead of white supremacists? That's the only reason you bring that out there, because many of them are afraid of us and don't even need to be. Why they scared?
Well, we can go into a long diatribe of why they're scared, but the point is that we got to keep up the pressure and letting them know that we're not going to back down anymore.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what's important going forward here. And I'm penning a letter to the police chief today to invite him on the show. Now that he's gotten settled in, it's time for him to come on the show. Let's talk, all right? Because I saw him when y'all did the rally that Friday evening, and I saw him give me a chance. Bro, you don't have time to wait. Little Rock is a powder keg right now already.
You
jumped in it.
Running.
You got to hit it running.
You got to hit the ground running in Little Rock.
So I don't know what he wants us to give him a chance to do. You got a problem in this. Here's the other thing, Rizal, and I know I'm jumping, but here's what I'm concerned about. About a month or so ago, it was reported that 5,000 to 8,000 white supremacists make Arkansas their home.
Yes, sir.
I would like to know, and my first question to the police department or the chief of police, are there any investigations, background investigations, going on with your police department to see if, in fact, there are members of white supremacist groups on your police department?
But see, even if they are looking into or aware of them, these white supremacist groups claim that they Christian groups trying to save souls, but they're only trying to save white souls. And so when you hear police officers talk about these extremist groups, and those extreme groups, including the Klan and the Klan, I call it, including the Klan, they claim to be Christian groups that are just trying to protect and serve, protect their way of life. And so police officers don't feel as threatened by those groups as they do about black folks. And here's another reason why. They know we done had enough. I'm going to tell you something. When they saw the people that were at the Capitol today, and when they saw what happened on Broadway and Markham last week, when they saw that, they realized that we have the ability to organize. We have the ability to do that. And once they see that, that's what they're most afraid of, that we're going to organize and we may become like our ancestors were and start tearing stuff up, and that's why they're scared. But we don't want to do that. We want them to treat us right, stop killing us, and if they do that, they ain't got to worry about organizing, because there won't be a real need to organize about criminal justice if everybody getting treated the same. And one last thing, and I've got to go, and that is that I've heard some people say, well, Lil Rock killed a white man yesterday. Look, I feel bad for the gentleman that was murdered. I don't like when anyone is killed. But when a white man is shooting at the police and the police shoot back and kill him, then that's what they should have done. And that's completely different than killing a man sitting in a car. That is complete. That is
minding
no
his own
comparison.
business, by the way.
There is no comparison to the white man that got killed at Arby's yesterday. None.
Right.
And so stop telling me that Lil Rock killed white people too. He had a gun. He was shooting at police. There's a video. They should have shot him. I would have shot him.
Exactly.
Good to see you, Dave. I've got an appointment at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I want to stop by in person to give you an update on what's happening, because we ain't done with them yet.
Well,
we ain't done yet.
Well, and I know you've got to run, but I'm going to be. We have got to affect their pocketbooks. That's the key. That's the key. I want to thank Rizal Aaron for coming in and giving us an update on what happened this morning at the rally for Bradley Blackshire. But it's not just for Bradley Blackshire. It's for every black person in this city, in this state, in this country, because each and every one of us have targets on our backs. Each and every one of us are subject to some white police officer who does not live in this city, who does not care about the people who live in this city, pulling us over, who've had a bad day. His girlfriend has ran off on him. He's gotten demoted. He didn't get the promotion that he wanted, and he decides to take that frustration out on one of us. Your son, your daughter, your father, your grandfather. It does not matter. And it makes me angry when people sit around and try to do the whataboutisms. The reason I didn't bring up the shooting yesterday at Arby's, because it was irrelevant to the point that we are making today, is that this white guy who was shot and killed by police, that's a justifiable shooting. Okay? That's a justifiable shooting. The white guy pulled a gun and was busting at the cops. Yes, he deserves to be dead. That's when you say someone deserves to be dead. But someone sitting in a car doing nothing does not deserve to be killed. Whataboutisms. We need to stop this mess. There is nothing to compare to what black people go through every day in America. Every day. They are now doing reports and showing that the pressure of racism on black men is enormous. How it affects you every day. My daughter is a clinical psychologist who has studied how racism affects black people, and we don't even know it. We think that we're living our lives every day the way it should be lived, but don't understand that the burden of racism and bigotry weighs heavy on our psyche. We have to fix this. And I'm ashamed that many of the black churches in this city have refused to get involved, because that could be one of your parishioners. You see, that could be your PK. Don't be so set in your ways to believe that, oh, that could never happen to me, because it could. And it's going to continue to happen until we do something about it. So I applaud Rizal Aaron. I applaud all of the people that were at the march this morning. Yes, keep the pressure up. Keep the pressure up. It's time to tell the officials in Little Rock that we are awakening. We are not going to take injustice any longer. It's easy to pray about it. We need action. We need action. We need action on the board. We need action at the state legislature. We need action in the governor's office. That's the bottom line on this, folks. That's the bottom line. If we're going to fix this problem, we have got to fix it ourselves. And that means that we've got to start voting with our dollars and with our ballots. Those of you out there now, I wonder how many of you out there now who are supporting Bradley Blackshire didn't vote. I wonder. Because, see, we got this mess because we are simply walking away from the ballot box. We're turning a blind eye to the ballot box because we have been sold into believing that, oh, well, it's not going to help us anyway. So when one of us gets murdered in the streets, now you want to get out there and protest. Now you want to get out there and scream, hoot, and holler. You can do that at the ballot box. That's one way you can solve this problem. There is no reason why Tom Cotton should be in office. There is no reason why Asa Hutchinson should be in office. Here's a man who's destroying your school system. Tom Cotton has never done anything for black people or poor people in Arkansas. If you looked at any of our state representatives right now, you look at them and ask them, what specifically have you done for black people in Arkansas? They could not tell you one thing because every one of them is against the affordable health care. Every one of them. But you walk away from one of your weapons that you can use to combat this racism and bigotry. The other one is your dollars. You say, well, how do I not spend my dollars? Let me say your dollars and your resources. I was reading a story the other day where this nail salon, one of the ladies in there called a black woman the N-word. That nail salon is no longer open. That's kind of like that hair salon that's no longer open. These people cannot come into our neighborhoods and in our communities and expect to be treated with peace, and they come in with animosity. I understand that the Sunshine Market on Beryl, a young black woman this past weekend was disrespected and dishonored in that market. That store should not be open, folks. It should not be open. But until we develop some type of consciousness where we're not going to take this anymore, and let me just say this too, that includes the negative behavior that goes on within our community. Until we develop a consciousness and say, we're not going to take this anymore, it's going to continue. Think about since Trayvon Martin. Now, let me tell you something. There have been multiple killings long before Trayvon Martin. But since Trayvon Martin alone, if you can just calculate in your head right now, how many black males and females have been unjustly killed by police? I mean, we could go on and on. Terrence Crutcher. They just kind of pop in your head. They're all over the country. Why do they keep happening? Why is it that, see, here's the thing. Why aren't police departments like football teams or sports teams? You know what they do, right? Sports is a copycat league, right? The NFL. If something starts working for one team, they want to go out and get a coach the same way and get them on the other teams. Same with basketball. Because what they're doing is they're looking at other teams in other parts of the country and saying, oh, they're being successful doing that. Why don't we do it? Now, what am I talking about here? Why don't police departments across this country look and see, well, wait a minute. They had a shooting. And there's a lot of, when the Trayvon Martin thing happened, or the thing in Ferguson happened, I mean, you can just name a city. Cleveland, Dallas, you can name a city. The first thing police officers say, well, we know we got to have more training. Well, wait a minute. Why are you just now doing training? Didn't the Trayvon Martin thing happen almost 5 years ago? Why do you look at that and say, hey, well, wait a minute. We got to train. Did the thing in Cleveland happen about the same time? Why do you look at that, even though that wasn't your city, why did you look at that and say, hey, look, we got to train. Let me give you an example. So I'm a business owner, right? You all know I have Coleman's Dynamic Products. Now, every time I go in a grocery store, you know what I do? I will go to the section that has products similar to mine. I look at the labels. I look at the writing. I look at the ingredients. I look at all of that. I'm training myself to what the competition is doing. So why aren't police doing that? Why aren't they looking they claim to have all these tools and all this predictability. Why don't they say, hey, well, wait a minute. That kid got shot in Little Rock. Let's go ahead and have some training in Jacksonville to make sure that doesn't happen in our city. Or let's go ahead and have some training in Atlanta to make sure that that doesn't happen in our city. The only training that these officers are getting are, I was in fear of my life. That's the only thing that they're giving them. I was in fear of my life. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Because the reason I brought up the Muhammad Noor case, the Muhammad Noor case is going to be key, folks. The Muhammad Noor case, if in fact we afford police officers this, what would we call it? This err on the side of caution. If we afford them that, if it's true, then it ought to apply to every police officer, right? So you tell me, why is Muhammad Noor being tried for murder and manslaughter? So if they don't get him on murder, they'll get him on manslaughter. Why is a police officer in Minnesota who used the same vernacular, the same reasoning as white cops do to kill black suspects, why is Muhammad Noor being tried? I mean, doesn't that make you want to ask that question? Now, the question is, which is more important than anything else, will Muhammad Noor be convicted? Here's what we do know. There has not been a fund set up for Muhammad Noor to my knowledge. I even looked again this weekend. Now, if I'm wrong, y'all tell me, because we like to talk facts on this show. But as far as I know, there has not been a fund set up for Muhammad Noor. Muhammad Noor hadn't gotten $200,000, $300,000 donated from other people in America, to my knowledge. The Minnesota FOP, I haven't seen any reports of them coming out supporting Muhammad Noor. I haven't seen anything on them supporting that police officer. Is it because he's black? Maybe we were getting to understand now why they need a black police officers union in Little Rock, because their needs are not being supported by the local FOP. Because Muhammad Noor certainly isn't getting any support from the local FOP. I haven't seen any. I have not seen one statement from the local FOP in Minnesota supporting Muhammad Noor. Could it be that Muhammad Noor is black? Could it be that Muhammad Noor is Muslim? Could it be that Muhammad Noor is an immigrant or was an immigrant? So this is a test case that we all need to keep our eyes on, because if in fact Muhammad Noor is convicted, if you don't know that we got a problem after this case with Muhammad Noor, you gotta know we got a problem. I keep thinking about the case in Florida. I keep thinking about what happened in that case, where the black guy who went after an autistic patient and was ended up laying on the ground with his hands up when accosted by police. He ends up getting shot. He was out there to save his autistic patient. He ends up getting shot because he's black. When they asked the police officer, why did you shoot him? He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know. Is there some subconscious thought process going on in the minds of white police officers who say if they're black, shoot them? That's a question no one has asked. But why? But then the trial goes on and it's a hung jury. And when I read the story where the foreman and 5 of the jurors surrounded the officer and told him in earshot of the the prosecuting attorney, the plaintiff, and told the officer, we did everything we could to get you off. Wait a minute. Here's a black man who was doing his job trying to help an autistic white patient. The black man ends up getting shot, and the foreman of the jury shakes hand with the police officer and told the police officer, we tried to do everything we could to get you off. There's a problem with policing in America. Not just here in Little Rock, but across this country. There is a problem here. And if we are not willing to address it head on, this is going to get worse. I read over the weekend that police now are challenging in some parts of the country that they don't even need a search warrant to go into your house. Remember the young lady, Miss Sally, here in Little Rock, where the police showed up at her house and she was smart enough and understood her constitutional rights? Y'all remember that video of that sister? And they wanted to come into her house, and she demanded, yeah, you can come in here as long as you got a search warrant. That's what the Constitution is all about. That's what it should be. But now we have law enforcement who are even trying to undermine those rights and saying, hey, I don't need a search warrant to go into your house. I read another story over the weekend where now if you get stopped at a DUI checkpoint, they can take your blood. Now, how is that constitutional? That's illegal search and seizure. You can't take my blood. But you know why this is happening? It's because we as American citizens are allowing it to happen. And more importantly, white citizens are allowing it to happen because they think that somehow or another that's gonna protect them from them people. Somehow or another that's gonna slow down 2042. We got to wake up. We got to start paying attention. And we've got to start using every resource that we have available to fight. And you don't have to fire a shot. I've told you this over and over again. Shout out to Beyonce over the weekend for setting up a fund for black HBCUs. That's what we ought to be doing. We ought to be sending our best athletes to HBCUs. If you go back and look at some of the greats of the NFL, they came from HBCUs. L.C. Greenwood, UAPB, Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State, the Selman brothers. It goes on and on and on. Walter Payton from Jackson State. Steve McNair, Alcorn State. Don't tell me that just because you go to an HBCU, you won't be discovered. If we start sending our children to HBCUs, that would change a lot of what's going on right now. That would change a lot of what's going on right now. More importantly, stop sending your kids to Alabama. How are you going to send your child to Alabama? And today in Alabama, they are celebrating Confederate Memorial Day. How are you going to go and represent Alabama? I don't care what tradition they have. I'll tell you what other tradition Alabama has. Alabama is the second leading state that lynched black people. Hello? If you're going to send them to Alabama, send them to Alabama A&M. Send them to Tuskegee. But you shouldn't be sending them to Auburn and Alabama. You certainly shouldn't be sending them to Ole Miss or Mississippi State. You shouldn't be sending them to Arkansas, where they proudly support Confederates and racism in Northwest Arkansas, and have billboards to tell you what kind of country that is, what area of the state it is. We could nip this in the bud right now if we simply told our children to stop. You're not playing today. This Thursday, you're going to see the closest we've ever come, we see it every year, of a slave auction. This is what you're going to see, the NFL draft. Look at the numbers of black people that will be drafted. What if they did not play? What if they said we've had enough? Until Colin Kaepernick gets a job, we're not playing. Until the state legislators across the country decide to support voter registration as opposed to passing laws that will restrict voter registration, Tennessee. Until we decide that we're going to take our liberty and our freedom into our own hands, this is going to continue. This is going to continue. Going to them and asking for justice in their system, it's been proven over and over again that there is no justice. We say it over and over again. We knew we should not be able to say that Charles Starks is not going to get charged. We should not be able to say that. We don't even have the facts of the case. We don't have the investigatory arm that the state legislature and the district attorney has, and the Little Rock Police Department. But even before it was even given to Larry Jegley, we knew, we were saying it right here on this show, that Charles Starks, unfortunately, will not be charged. So what are we going to do about it? Every time one of these things happen, I ask that same question. What are we going to do about it? And until we decide that we're going to do something about it, this is going to continue. Black men and women will continue to be murdered in the streets. Illegal guns will continue to be dumped in our neighborhoods. Illegal drugs will be continually dumped in our neighborhoods. Because we refuse to do anything about it. The so-called leaders in our neighborhoods, they'd rather be called leaders than act like leaders. They want the accolades, but they don't want the trouble. They want the pedestal, but they don't want the problems. That's leadership in Little Rock today. In fact, that's leadership across this country. And that's unfortunate. It will work, folks. I keep talking about the University of Missouri. And I'm going to reach out to a couple of those guys over the next couple of weeks and try to get them on the show to talk about, in retrospect, what are their views. Where are they now? Because it's important for us to understand that freedom ain't free. Even the freedom that Americans call freedom was bought with blood, sweat, and tears. And until we get tired of being treated like second-class citizens, man, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is start spending your money with black folks. I mean, it's so easy to do. Instead of, look, I tell you what, I got a barbecue seasoning, right? Instead of going to Kroger's and buying barbecue sauce, call me, I'll deliver it. I'll hand deliver it to you and shake your head and give you a money-back guarantee. Sorry about the shameless promotional plug. But there are so many black people out here who are doing business for themselves. We can support our own communities. I can hire someone. My dream is to have a distribution company here in Little Rock, a manufacturing and distribution company for my product, so I can go out and hire young black men, so I can be their mentors. That's my dream. That's what I'm working on. I'm going to be honest with you. They say you shouldn't tell people what you're doing. I'm telling you what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to develop a manufacturing and distribution company for my products right here in Little Rock. And the main reason I want to do that is because I want to be a mentor for young black males. I want to invite them into my office, and I don't want to put them on the line. I want to put them on the line, but I also want to give them business classes so that they can understand what it is to start a business. I want them to be able to shadow my managers so they can understand what it is to manage. But I can't do that if I don't get your support. The key is money. We go to them to support our causes. If you look around the country, the majority of the museums that we even have today are owned by the federal government. right here in Little Rock, the beautiful Mosaic Templar, is owned by the state of Arkansas. They can't even advertise on black radio stations without permission from the state. So the state owns our history. They still own us. They owned us back in the early days, and now they still own us because they own our history. You can't tell me you have a community when you don't own your own history. When you don't have jobs in your community. When you don't own your own treasures. That's not a community. That's a neighborhood. And anybody and anything happens in neighborhoods. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. Yeah, I'm not really upset about the Bradley Blackshire. I'm upset about all of it. I'm upset about all. This continually happens all the time. I've told y'all, look, both of them, John, Amber Geiger, she's not going to trial either. I'm telling you. Even though she went into a man's house, shot and killed him, she's not going to trial either. And if she goes to trial, she's not going to be convicted. You know why? Now you can say, well, see, the justice system, that's the problem. It's the justice system. No, it's not the justice system. The problem is that they know that we as black people, we're not going to do a damn thing about it. We're going to march. We're going to cry. We're going to continue to pray. And we're going to continue to die. And that's the real. Hate to be cold, but it's time for us to wake up. I'm tired of black people dying in the street. Look, and I know what people say, well, if you're so concerned about black people dying, why aren't you concerned about black on black? I am concerned about black on black crime. I am concerned about a black man killing another black man. But I understand the historical significance of why that occurs. I understand the fact that a black man can kill another black man because subconsciously he doesn't even like himself. So when he sees another black man, he sees himself. And it's easy because he doesn't like himself to pull a trigger and blow his brains out. Because subconsciously, he's blowing his own brains out. Woo! 855-525-5683 is the number. This is Black Focus Radio. We got to take a top of the hour break. We'll be back here in just a moment on joynetradio.com.
You had a business? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joynetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Coleman, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joynetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me 615-554-0568. We're here to assist you in building your brand.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found a Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at a Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to a Kick Above, I look marvelous.
Guess who's on JoyNet Radio? It's your girl LMJ with Coffee and Conversations with Lakeisha. Coffee and Conversations with Lakeisha is an interactive online daily devotional that rightly divides the Word of God. It's Kingdom, baby. Join us Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, that's weekday mornings, 5 a.m. at joynetradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of the show. It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you want to call up. And hey, you don't have to agree with me. Okay? I'd like to hear what you have to say on this issue. I'd like to hear what you have to say on any issue. So call me up. I will tell you that we are streaming live on Facebook. We are now streaming live on YouTube as well. Over the weekend, I figured out the YouTube thing. For whatever reasons with the YouTube, and I posted that link on Facebook as well. So I appreciate those of you who are listening on YouTube as well. But for whatever reason with this particular piece of software, OBS that I'm using, when you first click to stream, it gives you an error message, and then you have to refresh it. So if you're out there and you're streaming and you're using OBS software, or if you're wondering where that applet came from, it is a piece. Now, I actually made the applet myself, which I'm going to be updating the applet. This was just a test to see how it worked out. But I'm going to be making another applet that looks a little bit better than that. But I wanted to have something on there to represent me on YouTube, and that's what it looks like for the time being. So I appreciate everyone that's out there streaming on YouTube. If you are right now looking on Facebook, would you do me a favor? Hey, Blackberry, how you doing? Blackberry, and I tell people all the time, people listen to this show from all over the country. Blackberry is checking in from Oakland, California. Good to see you, my friend. Will you do me a favor? Go to my wall, look at that YouTube stream, click on YouTube and bring YouTube up and do a like, okay? Because I have to have 1,000 likes before I can do something else on YouTube. So I need to build those up. So we're going to start streaming every day on YouTube until we get those likes up as well, because it opens up some more advantages for me. But last hour we were talking about the Bradley Blackshire murder, and coming out that the police are not going to press any charges. That's on the backdrop of what the Yale police did last week. Man, I don't understand. See, and this is why video is so important. This is why, Mr. Mayor, if you're listening, this is why we must have these cameras on these cops. We must have them, okay? Because how many times have we seen the video, and then when we look at the reports, it's totally different from what actually happened? How long has this been going on in police departments across this country? In other words, police have been lying on their reports. Lying on their reports. Because that guy that was beating that teenager's head, he wasn't in fear of his life. Come on, dude. Betty Shelby, when she shot and killed Terrence Crutcher, she wasn't in fear of her life. But if we didn't have the video, we wouldn't know, even though there was no convictions, even though no one went to trial, we know in our heart of hearts that what we see on that video is true. And I don't care how they try to explain it away. I don't care how they try to parse it. At the end of the day, video don't lie. The eye on the sky never lies. That's what Coach Hall used to tell me all the time over at Dunbar. You can't run from the video. It's going to show up. And what we're seeing now is that police are lying. Police, and it doesn't matter who they are. And that's sad. You are supposed to be trusted. You are supposed to be the ones that we can go to. Look, I don't teach my children to go to police anymore. In fact, I never did. I just don't. I can't really honestly say that white police officers are my friend. I don't want you coming to my event. I just don't. I'm not going to invite you. I can't believe that what you say is true. I just can't. Hmm. 855-525-5683. How do you fix this problem? It's your money, folks. It's your money. That's how you do it. You fix it with your money. Stop sending your kids to these universities. What would happen if black kids didn't show up at the University of Arkansas, or the University of Alabama, or the University of Auburn, or Florida State, or the University of Florida, Tennessee, you name it? What would happen if one day black kids decided, let's say for instance, let's just say for instance, on opening day of this upcoming football season for college, what would happen if black kids didn't show up? What would happen? I want you to try to imagine that in your mind. As football addicted as people are in America, what would happen if black kids didn't show up on opening day of the football season, the first game? What would happen if black kids didn't show up for basketball practice? It's simple. Here, right now in the state of Tennessee, the state legislature in Tennessee is attempting to pass some legislation that will punish people who try to help people exercise their right to vote. Are you following me here? In the state of Tennessee, they are pushing legislation to try and say, hey, if you have a group, let's say I have A, B, C group. Well, let's take one that's already in effect. Let's have the NAACP. If the NAACP goes out and helps people register to vote, the NAACP and its leaders can be subject to penalty and or jail. Now, why would legislators not want people to exercise their right to vote? So if my kid is going to the University of Tennessee, if my kid is going to the University of Memphis, if my kid is going to Middle Tennessee State University, if my kid is going to Austin Peay, you know what I tell my kid? The only way you're going to go to a college in that school, in that state, is it's going to be a HBCU. So you need to go to Tennessee State or you won't be going to those colleges. I promise you that if we did that collectively as a black community, this mess will stop overnight. Because if I can't vote in your state, then my kid is not good enough to play in your state. That ought to be our mantra. If black people are not allowed the right to vote in your state, uninhibited, unhindered, then my kid can't score touchdowns for you. My kid can't slam the basketball for you. That's all you gotta do. It's so simple, it's profound. I think that's why people are not paying attention to it, because this is too simple. The next time someone is killed by police and there is no trial, what would happen if you didn't go to the university? Think about all these states that have killed people. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, Cleveland. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. California. It's across the board. These killings are happening, and it's no coincidence. And I know the white media don't want to address it, I know the white media don't want to believe it, but this is no coincidence that the same thing is happening across the country at police station after police station. The question is why? Why is it happening? You can't tell me, well, this is a lack of training. I'm not buying that. This is by design. I believe it is by design. And you got to meet force with force. And what we can do, because we don't have the weapons, we don't have the infrastructure, but we certainly can affect their pocketbooks by not letting them play, letting our children play. I've been talking about this for years now, and I'm going to keep talking about it because this is the only way. The most powerful weapon in the 60s was not the marching. It wasn't the preaching. It wasn't the teaching. It was the economic boycott. When white business owners realized that, hey, we're about to lose money from these Negroes, we need to change this. The only sure way you can affect their pocketbook is on their college campuses. Because look, we're seeing now that they don't really want you on their college campuses. The only reason they want you on their college campuses in the first place is so that they can be number one and they can have bragging rights. So they can go to the Final Four. So they can win a national title. That's the only reason they want your black children on the campus in the first place. So let's show them the world without black people. You know, there was a piece that was written years ago. It was called A World Without Black People. And it went on and it delineated all the things that had been created by black people. Things like the air conditioning. Can you imagine being in Arkansas without an air conditioner? Well, you know, that was created by a black man. Air brakes, that was created by a black man. The traffic signal, created by a black man. Little simple things like the iron and the ironing board, created by a black woman. The shoes, the shoe binding machine, created by a black man. The basic tenets that you live by every day. When you go in your house, you do one thing every day. And you know what that is? You hit the light switch. Without that filament created by a black man, we would not have light today. Some of your relatives wouldn't be here because it was a black man who was the first to perform open heart surgery. Some of them would not be here because it was a black man who created and was able to isolate blood plasma. See, they don't know. It's like the young man that was at the event Friday night. A young black man who didn't know about the Tulsa riots, the Tulsa massacres. So maybe we need to teach them. Maybe one weekend, maybe if we could marshal our forces, and one weekend that we could talk black parents to tell their black children, their young black boys, not to hike the football. Maybe they would wake up. The question is, do we want freedom? And is freedom available without sacrifice? Because if you want freedom, you get your freedom by letting your enemy know you're willing to do anything to get your freedom. Then and only then you'll be free. According to the great Malcolm X. And I totally agree with him. Because, see, they don't think we'll do anything. We're going to keep taking it just like we're doing now. We're taking this beating every day. Some young black, if you see Facebook every day, and what I try to do when I see these videos, I look at the dates. These are not things that are happening 5-6 years ago. These are happening every day in schools, on playgrounds, on the streets across this country where black people are being disrespected and treated badly. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a young man who was went to I want to say Columbia, went in the cafeteria, and they claim he didn't belong there, even though after he showed his ID, they said, well, we're going to go and check to see if your ID is valid. Those 6 officers have now been suspended. This is happening across the country. And you know what? I would love to come on this show and not talk about this. I would love to come on this show and go, has there been a 6-month period within the last 5 years where there has not been a black man shot, an unarmed black man shot by police? or a black man shot under questionable circumstances? Has there been a 6-month period in the last 5 years? I don't know, but I don't think it has. I don't think it has. I'm tired. I'm tired of this. You ought to be too. You ought to be tired of this. We can no longer sit around and say, oh, well, you know, he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that. Look, if they are willing to violate, just because that person may be in the wrong, if his rights are being violated, you know what? That means that our rights are being violated. You get that, right? Do you understand that? There's a reason why that Constitution is there, to protect us from violations of our constitutional rights. But if you are willing to say, hey, look, he did what he did, he don't deserve constitutional rights, then guess what? We're not going to get constitutional rights. You ought to understand that the Constitution, when we were out, when it was not even written for us. They had to add amendments. So if it's okay, because someone might be participating in criminal behavior, if it's okay for police to violate those constitutional rights, then what's going to keep that guy from, when you regular citizen, what's going to keep him from violating your constitutional rights? Not a damn thing. And you can't get mad because you've already said that it's okay. You've already said when John Q, black kid on the corner, gets beat up, shot, and killed, although he wasn't doing anything, he shouldn't have been standing on the corner. You've already said, oh, it's okay to do that. So when they storm into your house the way they want to, without a search warrant, or when they storm into your house and claim that you're selling drugs like they did Roderick Talley, with a no-knock warrant, then you can't complain. You can't complain. That's the problem here. But we have a solution. No one wants to follow it. No one wants to hear it. You know why? Because, as I look at all of the political leaders across the country, they like football too. They like basketball too. There's no progress without sacrifice. Use your own life as an example. Use your everyday life as an example. Whatever you accomplish without sacrifice, not a damn thing. Everything that you've done it and you've had to sacrifice something. Not totally, but you've had to put something aside in order to get to one goal or another. We all do it. We've all done it. If you've lived in this life, if you continue to live in this life, you are going to have to sacrifice some things in order to get where you need to be. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, then you're not going to accomplish much in this world. If you're going to be selfish and say, hey, I'm going to hold on. It's kind of like it's kind of like going to the beach and grabbing a handful of sand. And every time I go to the beach, I love doing this. When I was in Hawaii during the holidays, I decided that I'm going to try my little experiment again. And I went down and I got some dry sand. And I took my fist and I grabbed it and I put that sand in my hand and I squeezed and I squeezed and I squeezed. And no matter how hard I squeezed, that sand kept running out between my fingers. It kept running out between the cracks in my hands. And then finally, when I opened my fist, I had just a little bit of sand in there. So I sacrificed all those other grains to hang on just to those few granules that was in my hand. You got to sacrifice, folks. You got to sacrifice. 855-525-5683 is the number. Let's go out and take another quick break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio on joynetradio.com. All right, welcome back to the show. Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683. You know, I'm not upset about the Bradley Blackshire not being charged. I'm not upset about it. I'm really not. What I'm upset about is that we continue to sit around and allow this to happen. We continue to sit around and do nothing about it at all. We continue to sit around and twiddle our thumbs as if we can't do anything about this when we don't understand the power that we really have. We have the power, folks. We have all of it. We own, look, $1.2 trillion annually. Don't tell me you don't have the money in your communities. Whenever you want to buy that new car, you get it bought. Whenever you want to buy that new piece of hair, you get it bought. Whenever you want to buy little Johnny that fancy toy, you get it bought. Now, what we have to do in our communities are sacrifice. What we have to do in our communities is we have to start working with one another. We have to accept the fact that we can only survive this with each other. It's the only way. We've tried the other ways. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we've been marching, we've been praying, we've been crying, and we've been dying. It continues. Can you do me a favor and get the door when you get a chance? That one right there. Mike is coming in. Mike is coming in. Yeah.
And who is Mike?
Sure, anytime you want. So what we've got to do is understand that it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility. Let me read something to you. Here's some free legal advice for you. Don't ever give a police officer a statement. Never. Let me say it again. Don't ever give a police officer a statement. Okay? They will say you can go home after that. No, you can't. They will say they just want to help. They don't. They will say you are not a suspect. You are. Stop talking. Say nothing. Lawyer up. They are not your friend. They're not your friend. When police show up, they are looking for illegal activity. They may be smiling at you. I'm telling you from personal experience. I know plenty of police officers, and they will tell you that when they show up, yeah, they're smiling and laughing, but they're looking for illegal activity. So if they show up at your door and knock on the door, talk to them on the front porch. Don't invite them in your house. When you get in trouble, keep your mouth shut. You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to tell them where you work. You don't have to tell them where you're going. Long as you're legal, if you're driving, give them your registration, your insurance, and your driver's license. Don't utter one word whatsoever. Now that's from a Boston former police officer. Okay? 855-525-5683 is the number. By the way, I want to shout out to his royal badass. You know who he is. Y'all know who I'm talking about. That's Prince. 3 years ago, it just seems like he just passed away. Man, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. But hopefully, people will keep his memory alive. Now, over the weekend as well, we came to the conclusion that we know that Sarah Sanders is a liar. We know that the press secretary, and see, here's what bothers me. I've been in the media for 35 years. And I tell, and if you don't know, what we are trying to do here at JoyNet is put together a news division. And we had our first meeting on Saturday, a preliminary meeting. And the first thing I told them is that, look, one thing that we won't tolerate, that I won't tolerate if we pull this off, is that you publishing and writing stuff that isn't true. Facts are important to me. Facts should be important to you. So it's going to be important for us to make sure that we are talking facts. So when you have a press secretary her job is to tell us what the president is saying, and come to find out that she lies, and she brazenly lies, and she's happy about the lies, she doesn't deserve her job. Because you have no credibility. We know that the president lies when he gets up. We know that now. It's pretty obvious. But the fact that we have the press secretary coming to because see, here's the thing. You know, the media is only a conduit from the people and the president. Give you another example. So over the weekend, there's a controversy growing right now in the NBA. Is that some of the NBA stars now are having problems with people in the media. They don't like certain media members because they may have asked a hard question. Russell Westbrook is one of them, okay? He is really disrespecting a media member because he doesn't like, and this dates back to 2015, he doesn't like the way this media member is asking questions, okay? But you know what, Russell? You don't have the right not to talk to that media member, okay? Now, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, at one point when they lost last week to the Los Angeles Clippers, they decided to blow off the media. Here's the one thing that y'all forget about the media. You all are who you are because of the media. If we don't write stories about you, if we don't put you on TV, if we don't put your stats in the paper, you don't exist. We are your conduit to your fans. Now you might think, well, you know, I got social media now. I don't need you as the media. Yeah, you do. You do. Because social media is not going to give to them what a newspaper or a website will give to your fans. So when you start disrespecting the media, when you start saying that, hey, the media is fake news, then you got a problem. If anybody can say the media is fake news, it's black people. The media has misinterpreted, portrayed black people in all kinds of ways over the decades. See the Sony hack. See what they said about Denzel Washington. That's where you ought to be concerned about. That's what you should be concerned about. 855-525-5683 is the number. No, you can't lie to the American people. And now that we know that you're a liar, you know, at this point, if I'm the national media, whenever they call a press conference, I don't even go to Sarah. Because look, you don't know if she's telling the truth. You don't know if she's telling the truth. And she's admitted that she's a liar. She's an admitted liar. It is in the Mueller report. She's an admitted liar. Look, I'm going to tell you something, man. You can say a lot of things to me, but here's the one thing that I do know. If you lie to me, I'm going to have problems with you from the point that you lied to the point that I know you. In fact, I'm probably going to try to stop knowing you at all. Man, the only thing that I have is my word. That's why it's so important for me that when I do this show that I come with facts. If you notice, yeah, I get emotional. But everything that I say on this show, I back it up with facts. It is important for me to do that. Because my word is my bond. I remember back in the day, I'm not too young not to remember that when someone shook your hand and said, hey, I'm going to be there at 7 o'clock, they were there at 7 o'clock. We didn't have the luxury of alarm clocks that we carried around in our hands. We didn't have the luxury of being able to call somebody on the fly. Man, we had to go and get a payphone. I saw a video a while back where, and you all have probably seen these videos as well, Well, they gave these a rotary dial phone to some millennial kids. It was hilarious. So I remember those days. I lived in those days. Okay? So back then, we didn't have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to text him. Or I'm going to hit him up on Facebook. You know, it's like now, if I can't find one of my friends, if I'm calling them, they don't answer the phone, I'll text them. They don't text me back, then I'll see if they're on Facebook, and I'll send them a DM on Facebook. Then I'll see if they're on somewhere else. You have all of these different apparatuses to contact people. Back then, you didn't. So if someone told you that they were going to do something, you had to depend that they were going to keep their word and they were going to do it, and most people did. My word is my bond. If I tell you something, I'm going to do it. So if you're the press secretary of the United States of America and you cannot tell the truth, then how can you expect the American people to believe anything you say? And that's why you need to resign. You no longer have credibility. No one cares about you anymore. You are a waste of time. You are a waste of time. 855-525-5683 is the number. Let me just quickly, let me say this. If you are a black child, a black parent, and your child cannot swim, the YMCA, I believe it's the YMCA, or just call War Memorial, the pool at War Memorial, and find out when they're doing swimming lessons. I am serious. You know, when I was growing up, I thought all black kids swam. You know, I went over to War Memorial back in the day, and that's how I basically learned how to swim. Became a lifeguard. In fact, the Red Cross every summer would have swimming lessons. But check this out. The devastating statistics state that black children aged between 5 and 19 drown much more frequently. The rates of this occurrence are as high as 5 times. So in other words, what this is saying is that black kids drown 5 times more than white kids. Now, a lot of it is because a lot of white kids grow up around pools. They have access to pools. They learn to swim. They do activities that require swimming. Ours don't. But there is no reason why your kids should be drowning, especially in this day and time. So I wanted to throw that public service announcement out there for you because I just ran across a story because Agnes Davis, she founded a black-owned swimming company in Manhattan just to teach black kids how to swim. It could be life-saving, folks. I kid you not. Man, I got so far as that I had to, when you become a lifeguard, you got to jump in the water fully clothed, remove your clothing, and then use your pants as a flotation device. I'm serious. That's what I had to do. That's what I had to learn how to do. So if we are concerned about our kids, we need to teach them how to swim. Get them through a pool. Look, what are they going to be doing this summer anyway? PlayStation? Look, you might be able to swim with Laura Croft on PlayStation, but when that water hits you, that cold water, and you can't swim, that's the real deal Holyfield. That's the real deal Holyfield. Okay? I'm looking at some pictures, just some that was posted by Don Jeffrey and Anika Whitfield, Dr. Whitfield. I'm looking at these pictures, and man, they do have snipers on top of the Capitol. This is just mind-boggling to me. Why would they have these people on top of the Capitol? This makes no sense. I don't understand this. This is just crazy. Anyway, 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you want to talk today. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I did over the weekend. Of course, it was Easter. I don't really celebrate Easter, but I enjoyed cooking more than anything else. That was a thrill of mine over the weekend. All right, let's see what else we got. Tell you what, let's take another quick break. When we come back, we'll jump into some other headlines as well. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. I'm Dave Coleman on joynetradio.com. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Not too bad. I found out all the mics ain't working.
Yeah.
I came here to do the program of that.
Get your fuel.
My only problem is I didn't bring out my
Arkadelphia
connectors or anything. Hopefully they're easy. Hopefully they're easy to fix.
Yep. But fortunately, we didn't have any guests over the weekend, so we got through it.
Yeah, well, this morning was the hard part. Also, it was doing it during the weekend too.
Yeah, it was. I know 2 isn't working.
Well, that two, I know ain't working.
And I don't think that one's working either.
Which one?
This one
Yeah,
right
this
here.
one ain't working, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, and then I guess now that one ain't working either
Yeah.
over there, so.
Well, no, that one's working fine.
JC said it wasn't this morning.
Yeah, it's working because I just had a guest on.
just had it on?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it works fine.
Okay, so we're good there.
Well, it was working now, so.
You know what, how late are you go? I know you usually get off at 2.
Mm-hmm.
What time is it now?
It's 20 till.
Do you have time to wait on me while I run to Brian and back?
Today I don't.
Okay. I can run and grab my connectors and all real quick.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I tell you what, if you need to go, how long will you think it'll take?
No traffic, probably about 30 minutes.
Why don't you go and call me when you're on the way back?
Okay, and then you can be over.
Yeah, that would be better because I've got an appointment I need right
That'll
after.
work, because before I can even fix 2, I know I need my connectors, so.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
But they're complaining, I guess, 1055 is complaining to JC. They're trying to get them to go into the studio and all in the morning because our mics don't work. So.
Yeah.
So this has to be priority right now.
Okay, so why don't you do that and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Just call me when you get back.
Okay.
All right. Yep. You said what? You want to jump on the air? You want to talk on the air?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You can sit right there, that mic. What's your name?
Andre Cook.
Okay. Here we go. All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you want to join the show, of course, you can catch me on Facebook as well as YouTube. Eventually, we're going to be doing Twitter as well. We're going to stream all the mediums here coming up. We've got Rizal Aaron back in the house. He had to go and get some ice.
Is this thing on?
I don't know if that mic is working.
On there because you bad about cutting the mic off.
So that mic's not working.
Appreciating
I'm
that
sorry.
either. Yeah, somebody finally came to check you, man. You gonna let somebody else talk?
No, that
for
mic's
me?
not working.
They're
problems. Get on that mic quick.
We're gonna make me get JC on you.
You know, that's not my fault. That's why you see the engineer here. He's here to fix all of that stuff. But we've got a young man who was in the studio who wanted to join the show. Tell me your name again.
My name is Andre Cook.
Andre Cook. Andre, how you doing? Hey, welcome to Black Focus Radio.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time and giving me this opportunity to speak with you.
Is this your first time on Black Focus Radio?
This is my first time, and I caught you in passing.
All right, so what are your thoughts? You heard some of the things that I was saying. What are your thoughts?
Oh, there's a bevy of things, so we just pick the subject and let's go.
Pick one. You tell me. You wanted to come on, so typically when you call the show, you should have something to talk about. So what's on your mind?
You, in regards to what I first heard from you in regards to Black people sacrificing, let's start with that. Let's go big. I would say we've been sacrificing for the past, 400 years? What I think the problem is in regards to the Black people here in the United States. Now, this is someone who owns 2 companies. I own 2 tech companies, one here in Little Rock, another one in Mexico. Done business internationally. I met bevy of different Black people all across the world, different types of people as well. I have a lot of experience. Worked for the federal government as well. Military all my life. My father was in the Army, Air Force. I would say we don't know how to play politics. Every other group knows how to play politics. And then every time Black people, we make a deal, including civil rights deal, every time we make a deal, there's those little words that's in there, those contracts. Read those contracts carefully. For example, the word minority. And we thought that was okay because we're helping everyone else. But then the Hispanics came in, they're part of that. So now we're sharing the pie. Then the Asians came in. And then the women, which includes the white women. And then the gays came in. So now we're sharing all this pie after we got beaten our heads and did all the marching, did the Selma. Now we're sharing that little bit of the pie with everyone else. So now we're getting crumbs. Every time the other groups make a deal with governments or with bills, it's specifically for them. Please tell me in the past, however many years, 400 years, since America has been established, what law, bill, what have you, has been geared specifically for Black people?
Nothing.
Okay. We don't know how to play politics. That is our problem. We sacrifice for everybody in this world more than we even know. So
I agree with you totally on that. You actually probably stole that from this show. That's exactly. But I don't say it's playing politics. I think it's more or less we don't support our own self-interest, because in order to play politics, you have to have money. Okay. That's why the NRA gets what they want. That's why every other group. The reason the Hispanics have the largest viewing population in America. They have their own television stations. Okay, we don't have one. Okay, so a lot of that has to do with our leadership. Our leadership has been enamored with symbolism,
correct,
as opposed to substance.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't give a damn about a statue. I'm gonna be honest with you. That Confederate statue can stay anywhere it wants to. All right? I need you to break bread with me. That's why we talk a lot about reparations on this show. All right? The only thing that matters to me, if you are running for office in this country, I don't care if you're running for a dog catcher. If you are not for reparations, then I can't support you. All right? That's
Absolutely.
Just the bottom
Every
line.
other group, even the Nazis received reparations.
Exactly. So you're saying that we agree more than what you thought we did, didn't you?
No. We agree. We're disagreeing on we agree on the path. It's just we disagree on a few little things to get there, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yes,
you said
sir.
you own a tech company. How many Black people do you have at the top of your
I
company?
currently have 2 interns. I've been doing everything myself.
So
yes,
so those interns are learning from you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what's going to happen is that once they get up and in the business, they're going to go back and they're going to reach back and get somebody else to help them.
That's the goal.
All right. So what we have to do as a Black community is do exactly what you're doing. I talk about my companies. One of the things that I try to do is I try to employ interns or people who are young who want to learn, because that's important. Because the only way that when you talk about we're not politically active, the only thing that makes you politically active is how much money you can cut as a support check.
Right, but it's the way you approach the table. It's the way that you sign your contracts, which determines the resources that's allocated to you.
But why should I be concerned about resources allocated to me if my community turns over $1.2 trillion annually?
Because resources equal longevity. it equals the amount of money. It's an investment. That's what a contract is. It's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you create a bad investment, you're going to fail. If you create no investment at all, you're not going to receive anything.
But if I'm not doing that within my own community, how can I expect to do it outside of my community?
But Hispanics are doing it.
They're doing it within their own communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So they've started in their own communities first. They built their economic power.
Uh-huh.
Now they can say, hey, look, I need you to support that bill. And that politician's going to say, well, I'm not going to support it.
Absolutely.
Well, then you know what he says? Well, I'm not going to cut you a campaign check.
So let me tell you also, I'm in agreement with you in regards to the leaders here. But here's the thing. Name a Hispanic leader right now.
We don't have one.
Okay, because they're working in tangent in groups. So that's basically on your point where we're not working in tangent group.
Right.
Because it seems like we have this thing where we don't want someone to go ahead of us. We want
It's
to
called
be
the crab
star.
in the barrel mentality.
Yeah, it's crabs in the barrel, but the way I believe this, the way that I think black people operate
Get close to the mic.
the way black people operate that I believe is we're following a person that's doing better than us, that we perceive as better than us, rather than working alongside, creating that fist, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Martin Luther King Jr. Well, yeah, during this time, there's a bunch of different leaders, but for some reason, they wasn't necessarily working in tangent. So it was easy for them to get picked off. So once Martin Luther King fell, then his movement kind of went to the wayside. Same with the leader from the Black Panthers. When he was killed, that movement went wayside and so forth. Yeah, we can get into COINTELPRO, but let's do that later. My point is, nowadays, when someone tries to step up to the plate, they don't have that support because we're used to whoever is the leader or whoever is talking is going to fall anyway. So it's like, what's the point if we're just going to fail at the end?
Well, part of that is that we've been, look, I love Dr. King, but Dr. King was symbolic.
He was symbolic.
You know, if that movement had substance, then once he was killed, it should have moved forward.
Well, the substance that he was creating was in that
It
mountain
was,
speech.
Well, it was symbolic. Nothing that they did other than the Voting Rights Act, had, and really, if you look at it from this point of view, now that the Voting Rights Act has been nullified, even that symbolic gesture means nothing today.
But here's where I disagree with you on that mountain speech when he mentioned, hey, don't buy from these corporations. Those corporations saw their dollar goes down and miraculously he was murdered after that. So
I agree.
It was taken
I agree.
into effect.
Well, it wasn't until later on that he realized the economic. Now, they used an economic tool, the economic boycott, but at the time, they didn't realize how powerful that was going to be.
Correct. So
And then,
why are we doing that now?
well, I totally agree with you. That's my point about sacrificing. I don't know if you heard the first part of the show, is that we could stop these wanton murders by police. We could stop this discrimination. We could stop the attack on the Voting Rights Act if we did one thing, and that's stop our kids from playing
So let me
college
ask you
football,
this. Let's
or
say-
stop our kids from playing college
Say
basketball.
Myself, a black man, I open a bank on the corner of 12th and whatever street. I open a bank. You want to put your money in there?
I would, yes,
I appreciate that.
yes.
Now the masses, would they do that or would they wait a little bit?
Good. Well, I know what you're saying, and see, that's part of the mentality. See, part of the problem that we have is that it's a mental thing. We believe that the white man's ice is colder. That's what we've always been taught. As a matter of fact, no offense to people who are Christians, but we are the only people that worship a Jesus that don't look like us.
It's true.
Okay, you go and look at every other religion, whether it's Hare Krishnas, whether it's Buddhist, whether it's Islamic, whatever the case may be. When you see images of their gods, they look like them. When we go to most black houses in America, when we see the image of Jesus, he looks like a white boy. When in fact we know, historically speaking, there's no way he could have been white.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, so it's a mental thing, part of the problem that we've got to break. Now, look, if you've ever read the Willie Lynch letter, now many people will debate whether or not it really was true. But the fact of the matter is that even if it wasn't true, the tenets that is in that letter are clearly happening today when he said that if this is done right, it will affect their generations to come. We are only up from slavery 40 years, brother.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Notice it said 40 years. I didn't say 100 years.
Right.
40 years.
Right.
1968. So let's give you 50. Okay? So before we can break this cycle, we've got to understand that there's a problem going on between our ears. You know, when you say woke and then you don't go spend money at a black business, you're not woke.
Correct.
When you say woke and you don't go and vote, then you're not woke, because you understand that that's a tool that you can use.
Yeah, so now let's go into voting. I mean, voting for the lesser of two evils, right? I see things are kind of changing now, especially with this progressive movement, and I'm putting my hands up in quotes, this progressive movement. Things are starting to change in that landscape, but in regards to voting, I mean, I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'd rather vote for the person that has my best interests in heart, whether it's red or blue. But here's the thing, which we go back to the original point of playing politics. If one side automatically assumes that they have your vote in hand, that's when that benign neglect comes in. Oh, I already got the black vote, so whatever. So again, as what you're alluding to, how we need to work together and come together, this needs to be spread around us. If we hold both parties accountable and then say, hey, we will vote for you, Republican, if this happened, pass this act, pass this law. But we don't do that. If I say, hey, I'm going to vote Republican, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy. That's not a good thing. Hispanics are still voting Republican because sometimes they're doing stuff that's in the best interest of some of the Hispanics in their community.
You make a valid point, but at this point in time, Republicans are not doing anything for anybody.
Because they know that they're not going to get our vote.
Well,
they are doing things for their constituents.
Their constituents is big business.
Correct.
That tax cut was for big business. Absolutely. It wasn't for me. Whether you're white or black, it wasn't for me.
Right.
Now there are white people out there that think that was for them, but they realized April 15th last weekend that no, that wasn't for them. So I understand what you're saying, but see, black people are not a monolith. And I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm an independent.
Same here.
Okay? And I vote what's in the best interest, not of just myself, but of my people. That's what we've got to start doing if we are going to be successful, is that we need a black political party. Okay? We look, and I'm not talking about the Al Sharpton's thing.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. Okay? Because, number one, Al Sharpton was a FBI informant. I can't trust him. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a fact.
And Sharpton.
You see what I'm saying? That's a fact. All right? What we need is an independent black political party that will not be swayed. Where Republicans and Democrats go to Spanish, they go to AIPAC, they go to all these groups because they're currying favor. The Republican nominee and the president hasn't been to the NAACP convention in 3 years.
Well, what have the NAACP done in the past 50 years?
But they haven't. But my point being is that is the quote-unquote representation of the black community.
Did you vote for that?
Whether you agree with it or not, I know what you're saying. No, I'm not in the NAACP. But the fact that is the representation of the black community, and the Republican Party refuses to even address us, then there's no need to even address them with my vote. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But my thing is this. I don't really care about presidential elections. We should be voting in in state elections. Those are the people that carve up the districts. Those are the people that affect the larger landscape. The president doesn't make a difference to me. What makes a difference to me is the governor, the state legislators over there. That's where we should be spending our capital at. But I'm saying we don't even understand the concept of voting.
True.
Nobody even talk. Look, they said, hey, you free, you got to vote.
Yes.
They didn't tell you how to vote. Just like they said, hey, we're going to give you some money, but we ain't going to tell you how to spend it.
Yeah, or the gerrymandering. They didn't really explain that.
And you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So what we have to do, those of us like you're an intelligent young brother, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You've certainly got your finger on the pulse just by listening to you. What we've got to do is educate other black people. We've got to break that mindset of the old, same old, same old. It annoys me to no end when some people say, well, I didn't vote because it ain't going to make a difference anyway. That's that old mindset. We've got to break that. We've got to use every tool in our disposal to make sure that we fight for change. And the number one tool is our dollars. That's the number one tool.
So the best way to make us listen, what's your suggestion on that?
Good question. If black men being shot down in the street by legal police officers
Right.
is not making you change, what will change? You see what I'm saying? And what we've got to do is shows like this. You ought to be having conversation with your friends.
Right.
Everywhere I go, I'm having conversation with my friends. I'm a lot older than you, but and many of them are stuck in those old ways. But everywhere we go, it's that old saying: each one of us must teach one of us. Mm-hmm. Look, if they wanted us to be free and equal, we'd have been free and equal.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
Your responsibility in your house is you, right? Our responsibility in the black establishment, the black house, is us. They don't care about us. They've proven that to us.
That's true.
So if we don't take opportunities to do things for ourselves, they've proven that they're not going to do it. And that's what we've got to understand. And that's what we got to keep beating in people's heads every day.
So quickly, let me tell you, in the landscape that I've seen, I've traveled to many different countries. I've also been abreast to what's going on in Facebook, Google, and certain tech companies and so forth. I'm concerned about our future. I honestly am. We're being replaced by the workforce, especially by technology. Mm-hmm. I understand that when times change, we adjust. That's just human nature. However, if we do not get abreast to this technology and this trend and the way that things are changing, we are about 25, 30 years behind the curve. We are. And that's the honest to God's truth. We are behind on the curve. So me and there's other people like me that's out there. You got to find us. We would help you any way we can. We will give you the tools for you to be able to keep yourself updated. But if you don't, you will be left behind, and there will not be any jobs of substance available for you.
And that's already happened. That's already happened. And it's gonna get worse. You're exactly right. It's gonna get worse. And what we as a community have got to do, and I say this over and over again, if they wanted to save us, we would have been saved.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? We have to save ourselves. That's why that means that in your community, you got to be spending money with black businesses. The excuse of, well, there are no black businesses in my community. Well, what did you do? You went out and created your own black business.
Created my own.
Okay? What did I do? I went out and created my own businesses. Right. Okay? Look, at the end of the day, what powers this country is entrepreneurship.
True.
Okay? Not the Fortune 500 companies, believe it or not. It's the small business mom and pops like you and I. All right. So if we want to save our community, first of all, we got to spend money in our community, and then we got to be willing to reach back like you've got those two young interns and said, hey, look, here's how you do this. And hopefully it'll become a rippling effect, because a lot of people my age, unfortunately, they're sitting back and they're saying, hey, I got mine. I done did my time. I ain't doing nothing else. I'm a rest. I'm different. I'm a fighter till I die. It's in my blood.
Speaking of small businesses, I used to work for the Small Business Administration. That's the federal government agency I work for. They have minority grants, minority loans. There's no excuse.
You're exactly right. If you want to start your business, you can. I met a young lady. She was 18 years old, and we got to run.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you this quick story. She was 18 years old, cute young lady. I forgot how we met, but over the time, she was getting ready to go in the military. And she had a problem with her face breaking out. And she said, well, I can't use over-the-counter soap. She said, I went ahead and started making my own soap. I looked at her. I said, you did what? I make my own soap. I said, does it work? She says, it works great. I said, why don't you start your own business? Why don't you start selling it? She couldn't grasp that in her mind. She couldn't grasp. She went ahead and went into the military, which that's fine, establish a foundation. But as I told her, I said, look, I'll even help you set up your LLC. But you have a natural business. You are a black woman. You are not the only one that's experiencing skin problems from over-the-counter soap.
True.
You could be making a killing right now.
Yes.
Because of her mentality, is that she didn't grow up in an environment that was business savvy and business minded.
With the support system.
She could not grasp that I could be making a lot of money by making my own soap.
And saving people's lives.
Exactly. So that's what we've got to do, young brother. You got to keep teaching people. That's part of the reason I do this show. The theme is our issues, our solutions, our voices. I don't give a damn what they think. I'm going to be honest with you. The only thing that matters to me is what black people think.
Yes.
You see, and what we're doing here is trying to seize the media. The important thing to us, to me, being in the media for 35 years, is that we've got to control the narrative. They've been controlling the narrative for decades. They've been telling you where to go, when to go, and how to go.
True.
Okay? There are currently no black media stations in the country. I just found out that Howard has launched, not Howard, but FAMU has just launched a 24-hour all-black news station. Right now, Ice-T is trying to buy 21 cable stations in Northern California, and Comcast and Charter are trying to keep him from doing it. He's about to take him to court. That's part of the reason Magic Johnson left the Lakers. A lot of people don't know that. He and Ice Cube, I should say, not Ice-T. They are trying to buy 21 cable stations, because if we begin to control the media, then we control us. Now, I don't believe this, but many people believe that's part of the reason Bill Cosby was attacked. Because when Bill Cosby went after CBS and had the money to buy CBS and become the sole owner, all of a sudden you started hearing these stories about Bill Cosby.
Or about his son?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then, of course, you look at, what's Byron's, the comedian name who just bought the Weather Channel. He just bought the Weather Channel for $300 million. Okay? A black man, Byron Allen.
Yes,
Byron
yes,
Allen.
yes.
So the point is that if we are going to change the dynamics, because look, I can give you all the money. Look, I can give you reparations right now, and I know we're running long, but I can give you reparations right now. But if I don't put in your mind how to spend those reparations, you're going to be poor in a year. You're going to be broke again in a year. You see what I'm saying? So we got to create apparatuses in our own communities that can support and defend our own community.
Right. Your money got to make money.
There it is, right there. All right, we got people are already calling. Hey, you're supposed to be off at 2 o'clock? Okay. That's Mike. I'll call him back in just a minute. But we've got to go. But look, Alfred, tell me your name again.
Andre Cook.
And tell me your company.
Cook Technology Services here in the States, and Iron Hands Seguridad y Tecnología in Mexico.
Now, what do you all do?
Here in Little Rock, I do anything regarding technology, so that's websites, videos, marketing plans, anything that a business needs, we will provide, and if we can't do it, we'll find a solution for you.
Okay, fantastic. You got a card?
Yes, sir.
All right, make sure you leave me your card. I'll be able to use you in the future.
Thank you.
We'll be able to use each other. How about that?
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity and you giving me this chance to speak on the radio. Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah, because I love an open debate. You know, that's what I do. That's what I've been doing for a living. So in order for us to solve our problems, we've got to be able to talk to each other.
Yes,
okay? And we got to be able to disagree with each other and still be friends.
I agree.
You know, part of the problem with black folks, you say something I don't like, I'm done with your ass. I'm done with you, dog.
Right.
I can't believe he said that to me. I've been knowing him. So what we've got to be able to do, look, because there are multiple ways that we can get to where we need to be.
Right.
You know, you're going one route, I'm going another route, but we can all get there together if we're willing to share and work with one another.
That's true. Make that fist.
Exactly. Band of the hand. So that's what it's all about. Hey, we got to get out of here. I hope you all enjoy the show. It's called Black Focus Radio. We're on every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m. We are the only station in the state of Arkansas that talks about black issues every day, every day, every day. Right here on joynetradio.com. I'll see y'all tomorrow.